Good evening. I'd like to call our regular council meeting on Tuesday, October 14th to order at 6 p.m. Mayor McNeil-Smith, colleague council members to my far left, Councillor Novick, Councillor O'Keefe, Councillor O'Toole, to my far right, Councillor Duck, Councillor Duncan, and Councillor Gurnett. Good evening to members of staff in the chamber. Good evening to members of the public in the chamber and to those who may be watching the live webcast. I'd like to turn it over for a moment to our CAO, Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to introduce our new Director of Engineering, Brian Murphy, to Council and to anybody who may be watching or here in the audience tonight. And Brian comes to us from the City of Duncan, and prior to that, Brian was also working with the City of Victoria, and before that with the City of Medicine Hat, Alberta. And so Brian's got a wealth of experience with various local governments in the realm of civic infrastructure and engineering issues, and so we're really happy to have him on board here and look forward to working with Brian and the team on many exciting projects to come.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. On behalf of Council, we want to extend a warm welcome to Mr. Murphy. On behalf of all the Council, we look forward to working with you. I'd next like to respectfully acknowledge that we're holding our meeting, gathering this evening on the territory of the Wasanich Nations, the Sayot Nation, the Sartlip Nation, the Pakwachin Nation, the Sakem Nation, and the Malahat Nation, and we express our gratitude to the Wasanich people for their stewardship of these lands for millennia, and that we who are non-Indigenous are able to live on these in this remarkable place. In turning to approval of the agenda, I'm going to turn to Councillor O'Keefe, who I believe wants to raise an item from correspondence for information.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to raise item 15.3, which is a letter from Mr. Brian Losey about the emergency warming shelters or centers.
So we'll raise that from 15.1, and that will become 14A.
I think it was 15.3.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said 15.1.
Oh, 15.3. My apologies. Sorry, 15.1 is correspondence for information, but the particular item is 15.3. Thank you. Seeing having known of no other changes, I look for a motion to approve the agenda as amended. Moved by Councillor Duck, seconded by Councillor Novick. All in favour? None opposed. That carries. And we're next turning to our public participation period, providing an opportunity for members of the public to come forward. We ask that you provide your name and the municipality that you reside in, and you'll have 3 minutes to address Council. Please come forward. Good evening. There is just a button, as you may know, for the microphone. Thank you.
Hi there. So I would just like to note that the Town of Sidney staff were unable to direct me to the information that you claim is publicly available following the last council meeting. I believe you've been misinformed about its availability. I've taken the time and extensive personal effort to submit an Office of the Ombudsperson complaint, and I look forward to their determination if investigation is warranted into the unwritten bylaw definitions being used to enforce Bylaw 1966 by Town of Sidney staff.
Thank you. I'll call for a second time. Anyone wishing to come forward, please. Good evening.
Mr. Mayor, Member of Council, Town staff, it gives me great pleasure to stand before you. The first opportunity I've had to thank you for the veteran crossword. Sorry, do I have to give my name and address? Oh, sorry. 101-234 Breathaver Avenue, Sydney. First Vice President of Branch 37, Royal Canadian Legion, Saanich Peninsula. So yes, I'd like to just come before you and thank you for that amazing Veterans Crosswalk which we've got at the front. On the Town of Sidney Facebook page, and I'm sure Laura will correct me on this, I think it was the hottest item for quite some time, wasn't it? Literally hundreds, I don't know whether you call them hits or reviews. But that was amazing. I got phone calls from people just congratulating me and the town for doing it, but also from people outside the town. So it's been a wonderful exercise. It looks beautiful, so I thank you for that. And I also thank Bruce. He was amazing. Thank you, Bruce, for guiding me through the process. I'm not really after anything this evening. What I want to do is just whet your appetites a little bit to 2026. This is the Royal Canadian Legion centennial year, but it's also our branch centennial year. So I've been appointed centennial coordinator, and I've been working quite a bit, and the support I've been getting from various people, BIA, Seaside Times, and all those. So my idea is not to make 2026 a fundraising year for the Legion, it's to raise the profile. Because, you know, the demographics of our membership, like any service club now, is pretty low. So I just wanted to let you know, and whether this time is right to ask, if there was some consideration could be given to maybe include in our centennial in your street banner program for 2026. We as a branch, we've got about 110 members, but sadly only about 20 attend. We are homeless. We don't have a regular meeting place, and our biggest fundraiser is the Poppy campaign, but the Poppy campaign funds are very strictly, and they should be, guided where we can divert that money to. So it is for veterans, we're able to give scholarships and bursaries and things like that. But we cannot use the Poppy Fund for the day-to-day running of our branch. So we have very little opportunity to keep our heads above water. We are doing that, but I see next year as being an opportunity to maybe just let people know that you don't have to be a veteran to be a member of the Royal Canadian Legion. I've been in touch with the market. There's lots of things I'd like to do. It's going to be hard work, but I think this is an opportunity for us that we shouldn't let it go by. So that's all I wanted to say is thank you, and I would appreciate some guidance if I need to come and do a formal presentation about the banner program. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kenny Podmore. Thank you for being the one to bring the Remembrance Crosswalk idea project to our attention for our request, and thank you for acknowledging the great work of staff to get it set up in our community. It looks wonderful, and will long be remembered. And thank you for the heads up on the on the centennial next year. We look forward to that.
Thank you so much. Thank
Okay.
you. I'm sorry I've got to go straight away, but thank you.
Can you just pop the mic, perhaps?
Not used to this technology.
Have a good evening. Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, Mayor and Council and staff. This is addressing...
And
some-
sorry, your name and
Oh,
municipality?
I'm sorry, yeah. My name is Tom. I'll read it off of this. It'll be more coherent. My name is Tom Richards. I'm the president of Marina Park Strata, located at 2040-2050 White Birch Road. And this is in relation to some correspondence you have about a drainage system, okay? I'll just read this one sheet, and hopefully that'll suffice. So thank you for accepting the report regarding the Strata Properties drainage situation and including it in this meeting's agenda. It's nice to see that we have a well-working town here with the council, et cetera, to bring things forward like this. It's very comforting, or so to speak. Normally, replacement of the system would not require involvement of council. In this case, the interests of both the town and the strata are combined, and that is shown in the report. And I won't repeat our report other than to point out that both our drainage pipe and the town storm main are side by side, running through our property under our parking lot. Since submission of the report, the engineering department informed us that there is $70,000 included in the 2025 budget to connect to the town's main. That was very comforting. While this is much appreciated, I come here today to humbly ask for additional funds. And this would be due to the facts highlighted in the report and the associated cost created by this unique situation. Although the connection cost would be funded by the monies allocated in the capital budget, there are substantial additional costs that the strata would have to fund in lieu of reusing their existing line to the outfall. We have to install stormwater storage costing about $115,000 because we can't reline our pipe and use it. Additional First Nations archaeological review of about $40,000, and this amount is increased due to the enlarged excavation in our parking lot to install the stormwater storage. If we could just tie into the main, and then we wouldn't have to put a huge system of 120 cubic meters of storage, it wouldn't be as large an excavation, and every bit of excavation is expensive. These costs are due to extra work required to allow the town to increase the capacity of their main without interfering with the strata's main. In addition, the archaeological survey would have been done for the future work by the town, so that's a plus. We're going to be doing a lot of the archaeological survey. So we have two requests, basically. One request is that the engineering department reduce the planned stormwater storage by reducing the climate change increase percentage from 25 to 15%. So Mr. Demir, who's worked along with us, has indicated that there is, the model shows 25% increase for the climate change. And this seems reasonable, the reduction to 15%, as the climate change number is predicated on the year 2080. It is likely that in 55 years, either the town will have upgraded this short section of pipe or the building itself would have been replaced. And if we do reduce that number, of course, the size of the water storage management field gets smaller and all the associated costs. The second request is that the town add funding of $35,000 to the allocated $70,000 to offset the additional cost of stormwater storage and the associated First Nations review. And that's because we can't, for reasons indicated in the report, that we can't just reline our pipe and work together on this. But you will be coming into our parking lot when you replace your main, and the survey will be done, and we'll move all our vehicles, etc. So we're working hand in hand, and we are paying for the whole replacement of the system too. This situation is urgent as mentioned in the report. We have spent a number of years getting to this point. We have an engineering firm for the design and oversight, an engineering firm for the archaeological oversight. Our archaeological BC permit is in hand, and we're ready for the next steps. Mr. Demir is aware of the situation, has let us know he's ready to work with us. So again, I want to thank you. I want, if you could take into consideration those two requests, reduce the 25% to 15 and maybe increase the allocation a bit, and that would really help us out. We'll still have the lion's share of having to handle this situation. So
Thank you, Mr. Richards. We
Okay.
appreciate your correspondence. We appreciate the response from Mr. Demir to your concerns and a willingness from town staff to continue to work with you on this. We don't take budget requests during public participation.
I see.
So I would ask that you continue to engage with staff. If I'm hearing from what you said, and I'm not asking for staff to confirm it, but this could be a capital project come forward as one of the many capital projects that come forward in our 2026 budget, and staff may have more information for us at that time.
Right.
But that would be the time that we would consider that. So I would ask that you, I know you're in correspondence with staff, but I would ask you if you have specific requests to make those specific requests through to staff, and at the appropriate time, staff would bring them forward to council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll call for a last time if there's anyone wishing to come forward to speak to council tonight. And not seeing any, I'll close public participation. And we do have a presentation this evening, and I'm pleased to welcome Brian Robinson, our Manager of Public Works and Parks, to come up to speak to us this evening. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council.
Sorry, you might have hit.
There we go. I had the opportunity last weekend to attend a joint conference for the Public Works Association of BC and the BC Municipal Safety Association. And I was honored to accept on behalf of the town an award for organizational safety excellence that the town was given. The objective of the award is to recognize local governments for activities that improve experience ratings and ultimately reduce injuries, illness, disease, and fatalities. Not that the town has never not been in compliance with our regulatory requirements, but about a decade ago we did realize that doing this work off the corner of many managers' desks, we did really need to have a safety champion on board. So about a decade ago we hired a Mr. Rob Cook to come on as our health and safety coordinator. And in the last 10 years, Rob has done an excellent job of developing the safety culture within our organization. Such to the point that we were able to achieve what we achieved this year. Our former director and myself, wanting to recognize Rob's good work, we did put him forward again and nominated him for an award for safety leadership. Unfortunately, Rob did not win the award, but he did certainly get a special mention about it and was shortlisted for the work. So at this time, I wanted to bring that forward to you to let you know that the safety culture in the town is continuing to improve, and Rob Cook has been an integral part of that over the last few years, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well, that this is something that as a community we should be able to celebrate. Everybody has bought into our safety culture, and the experience ratings that we're seeing is bringing our premiums down through WorkSafe BC, and that's a good thing to share out there with yourselves and with our team and with the public at large. So thanks very much. I just wouldn't mind showing you the award.
Please. Oh, lovely.
Like I
Mr.
say, I'll just pass that around and be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Robinson, we appreciate you coming forward first to to make us aware of the town of Sidney winning the Organizational Safety Excellence Award. That's an award to the town of Sidney, and congratulations to the team and the leaders on the team who helped us achieve that award. It's nice to get that kind of recognition, particularly from the BC Municipal Safety Association. And congratulations to Mr. Rob Cook, our health and safety coordinator. I did have an opportunity to meet him just in passing, and we spoke for a few minutes, so it was nice to see him win that award. He certainly brought leadership in that role to the organization, and it was great of yourself and our director to recognize him and attend that conference to see him recognized. I'll turn to Councillor Garnett.
Thank you, Mayor. No question, just a comment. Having run into you the other day, just sort of serendipitous. The word's not going to come out right. I'm not going to say it, but
Serendipitous.
Thank you. Serendipitously. I think this is an often overlooked and important part of an organization, and for whatever reason, it's something that the culture is really, really important, and it's not just, I think, for the community to realize. It has an impact on costs, but I think it also has an impact on retention and attraction of employees when you create that kind of culture that people know they're protected, safe, and people care about them within the organization. And so this is, like, it's fabulous that you got this award, and I thank you for bringing it forward. And the Mr. Cook specifically, I've run into him a few times on my walk through town, usually with the bylaw officer doing their rounds. And yeah, it's incredible to hear the commitment that he has, the ideas he has. He educates himself. Little things like the protection vest that he brought forward. Just he's totally invested in the role, and it shows an incredible dedication, which I thank him for. And I want to pass along my appreciation to you and our former Ms. Clary. I think it's important for employees when upper management recognizes what they do, and that is, from my perspective, incredibly meaningful, and it goes a long way. And I just want to thank you again very much for that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We don't have any bylaws before us or development permits. We're turning to adoption of minutes. If I could have a motion to adopt. Moved by Councillor Duck, second by Councillor Novak. Any corrections to the minutes? Not seeing any. Those in favor? Thank you. None are opposed. That carries. The next item is the Mayor's report. Just one item this evening. It's the CRD board highlights from the September 10th board meeting. I don't have anything to remark on from those highlights. I'll open it up if there are any questions. We don't require a motion. Not seeing any. We'll move on to council reports, and we do have one this evening from Councillor Garnett, our liaison to the Shaw Centre for the CLRC.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to be very brief. The Executive Director will be coming in the near future to provide a report to Council, so I'm not going to speak to anything specific that they might speak to. Just some updates on some dates. Tot Tuesday is back up and running at the Centre from 10:30 to 11:15 on Tuesdays, and this is for ages 5 and under. And they have special ocean-themed stories, crafts, and activities, so if anybody's interested, please drop by. Next Tuesday, October 21st, will be the AGM for the Shaw Centre, and this is from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Centre for anybody who's interested in attending. And the last thing I'll speak to is that the 5th annual Ascarium at the Sale of the Salish Sea is taking place on Saturday, October 25th, from 4 to 8 p.m. at the center. Entry will be $5 per person. 2 local causes will be splitting the money that comes in that day. One will be the New Marine Center Society, which is part of the Shaw Center, and the other is the Habitat Acquisition Trust. And if you want to learn more about that, you can go to their website, Shaw's website, follow under events, follow through to Ascarium, and it'll come down. There's a link you can click on, and you can see all the work they do in the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks very much, Councillor Gurnett. Any comments or questions from colleagues? Not seeing any, we'll receive that verbal report. And we're next turning to item under committee reports 12A. We're receiving the minutes from the Advisory Planning Commission meeting of October 7th. We don't require a motion. I'll turn to Councillor Duck, our liaison to the APC committee, or commission, to read in the recommendation, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm prepared to read the entire recommendation, but just want to check if that's necessary or not.
Yeah, just from recommendation. Yeah.
Okay. So I so move the development permit application.
Actually, you just have to read the recommendation.
Okay.
The committee so move. Committee recommends, and you so move.
Yeah, understood. The recommendation that that owners and tenants in occupation of the property within 75 meters, 246 feet of 9824 3rd Street be notified regarding development variance permit application number DV100377 to reduce the minimum width of the drive aisle from 5.5 meters to 3.6 meters, to increase the maximum percentage of lot area occupied by the parking areas from 50% of the lot to 63% of the lot, and to increase the maximum number of small car parking spaces from 30% to 40%, and that any written correspondence received be forwarded to council at the time of consideration of approval of the variance. Number 2, the development permit application number DP100853 to permit the form and character of a 4-story mixed-use commercial residential development for the property at 9824 3rd Street be brought before council for consideration of approval if council authorizes the issuance of the development variance permit. Number 3, that as a condition of approval of the development permit application number DP100853, the property owner shall, prior to the issuance of a building permit, A, pay to the town a deposit in the amount of 150% of the estimated cost to complete the hard and soft landscaping of the development. Number 4, that as a condition of approval of development variance permit application number DV100377, the property owner shall, prior to the issuance of the building permit, A, register a restrictive covenant on the title of the property prohibiting the future strata council from passing any bylaws that may restrict occupancy of the building based on age, and B, register statutory right-of-way allowing public access on the westernmost 3-meter, 9.8 feet of the property.
Thank you for moving that.
Second.
Second by Councillor Garnett. Any motivation?
No, I think this is, as has been brought to council before, this development is a perfect, I think one of the members of the AP noted that it's filling a hole in the mouth of a block, and literally because of the dimensions of this property, it's a unique structure to be able to fill that spot, and I think it'll do nicely, and it's well designed. I think the architects have done a good job to make it work.
Thank you. Councillor Garnett. Councillor O'Keefe and Councillor Renewal.
Yeah, thank you. Just a question, if I may, through you to staff, and it's related to a letter that was received, I think, from the neighboring strata at 9818, and they expressed some concerns about subsidence to their building, and I guess that's, I don't know, I'm presuming that that's damage to the building or fears of it because they're digging down so low and they're concerned about that. Am I correct in assuming that the town wouldn't necessarily have measures in place, but is this more an engineering, like a professional engineer that they would hire to make sure that there isn't damage to the adjacent building?
My understanding is that the applicant for the development has requested some of the variances to avoid having to do underground parking and to avoid a deep dig, which would satisfy those concerns. And I would turn to Alison to confirm if that was.
Ms. Verhagen, please.
Okay.
Sure, thank you. Yes, it's my understanding as well. There's no underground excavation proposed for this development, although they will have to do some excavating to build footings for the building. The applicant spoke at the Advisory Planning Commission about how they have been working with neighboring stratas in terms of window placement to avoid too much overlook between the buildings because the exterior walls will be close together. So I think the subsidence that was mentioned here, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but was to do or in relation to settlement of their building. They're hoping it doesn't settle or be disturbed in the ground too much. So
Right.
there will be a civil engineer involved in a project like this, as well as an architect, as a coordinating professional, because it's a 4-story mixed-use commercial residential building. So
Right, okay, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Toole?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to either Councillor Duck or Mr. Verhagen, whoever perhaps wants to answer this. I recall in the record of decision, there was some discussion which perhaps would relate to the first recommendation around the suggestion that a one-way traffic, some sort of control signal perhaps be implemented for the site, and given that that was an item that, you know, caused some discussion around committee of the whole at the time as well, just curious in terms of why APC didn't incorporate that into the recommendation, or if it was just a thought from one or two and didn't gain much traction.
Councillor Duck?
I'll take the first crack and maybe Ms. Verhagen can add to it, but essentially with the design concept within it allows for vehicles to park inside slots as well as park to pull back in if they need to. And given that there's coming and going a maximum of 9 vehicles, the concept of the residential traffic pattern on here was felt that there's not going to be that many cars coming and going at any one time. And certainly if one was coming out and another was coming in, there's quick adjustments could be made quite easily. It wasn't like a heavy traffic area. That being said, there was the indication that the outdoor, the street side parking will be eliminated to allow a parking rack to go in there, and again, will provide more visibility and access to the parking area. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Verhagen if she has anything to add.
Ms. Verhagen?
thank you. Councillor Duck, I think you covered it well. Yeah, I think APC's indication there was that the applicant should consider adding some kind of warning system to alert vehicles on either side when someone was coming from the other direction. They didn't feel so compelled as to make it part of their recommendation. They rather gave that suggestion to the applicant to see what they could do in the building.
Yeah, thank you. And I concur, I think, with the summary. Councillor Duck noted the volume of vehicles in this particular premises not anticipated to be high. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further discussion, I'll call the question. Those in favour? Thank you. That carries unanimous. And now we're turning to staff reports. The first, under 13A, is a request to waive fees. The Torque Masters Car Show event. This did come before us at a previous meeting. We requested staff bring back a report. I'll turn to staff for an introduction, please. Good evening, Mr. Demare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This report brings forward a request from the Torque Masters Car Club to waive certain town support costs associated with the security measures from their August car show. The Torque Masters request follows from a similar waiving of fees for the city street market operators for security-related event costs for the 2025 market season. The report outlines the similarities and differences between the two requests. Both requests address the concerns of the event organizers by relieving unforeseen costs related to the new safety measures that were put in place. If the Torque Masters request is approved, just over $14,770 in fees would be waived. These charges would be sent to the community celebrations budget. The remainder of the town costs to support the event, just over $3,900, would be charged to the event organizer. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for the introduction. I'll turn to colleagues if there are any questions. Councillor O'Keefe, to begin.
Sorry, you just, through you to Mr. Demare. I didn't catch the last bit you said about the 1,470, and something about going to the community you're not talking about peninsula celebrations, you're talking about the money coming out of the town celebration budget, is that?
Yes, through to Councillor O'Keefe, yes, that's the intent, is that that charge that would have gone to the organizer would then be charged back to that community celebration capital budget.
Right, okay, sorry, my hearing. I do have another question. So my understanding is that with the Sidney market, so we did charge them for the labor to manage the barricade vehicles. But what's proposed here is that we do not charge the torque masters. Am I understanding that correctly?
The request from Torque Masters was to waive all related fees for the barricading for their event. So that was labor, any of the surcharge or administration costs, and the vehicles, which was previously waived by our earlier council resolution. Whereas the event for the street market, they paid the labor, but all surcharge and admin fees were waived on all labor and materials.
Right, so, so what we're doing, what's proposed is different than what we did for the street market. And my understanding is that we also charged Artsy for the labor component as well.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, and so I'm just, I guess, my question, I guess I'm wondering is there some other sort of rationale or information that, say, Torque Masters has provided in terms of why we would charge those costs to the market and to Artsy, which is also a good organization, but not the Torque Masters?
Through the mayor to Councillor O'Keefe, I believe the way Torque Masters is looking at it, they are just trying to cover those unexpected costs related to the barricade vehicles. So they saw it strictly from that perspective, I believe. Instead of looking at what others were given, they saw that was additional costs that they hadn't accounted for, and that's their request and their ask.
Okay, and just one more. And maybe this would be through you, maybe to the CAO or maybe to Mr. Demare. Would it be reasonable then if we allowed this to, that we would provide the same consideration to Artsy if they were to come forward and ask?
Mr. Edwards?
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor O'Keefe, that would be a reasonable request, or council can also make a resolution to that effect as well. And from in discussion with our CFO, who's not here tonight, my understanding is that while the waiver may be being applied to different components or elements for what the Torque Master request is as to what the Sidney market is, I think the outcome is very similar. So,
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what that means, but
right.
I'll, yeah. I guess my concern just about wanting to apply.
Yeah, regarding the application of this to Artsy, that could be something considered if they were to bring that request forward, and or council has the discretion to advance that too.
Right, okay, thanks, that's all.
Thank you, Councillor. Any questions? Motion is not yet on the floor. Councillor Duck?
Yes, just to be clear through to staff, this is for the 2025 seasons, that all organizations will be incorporating these changes, and the result was because of this new change to safety mechanisms. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, we have a staff recommendation. Councillor Renewal?
Thank you. I'll move the recommendation that all town costs related to barrier vehicles be waived for the 2025 Torque Masters Car Show.
Second.
Yeah, moved and seconded by Councillor Duck. Alternative movers?
Yeah, thank you. I'm supportive of the recommendation that's before us from staff. In part, as noted in the request from Torque Masters, to a degree, a precedent's been set. These were expenses, which were implemented following a significant tragic event in a similar sort of street event in the Lower Mainland. And so certainly understand that small organizers would not have anticipated these costs at the time when planning their event. This was also a fairly significant fundraiser for Jumpstart Canadian Tire and the work that they do in sponsoring, youth in sports and projects such as the multi-sport court at Panorama Recreation as an example. So I'm supportive of the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tuck?
Yeah, again, just reiterate that this is a change in the safety mechanisms for most events, and so it was unintended consequences of these changes that now all the organizations doing them have to adapt. And certainly I think we can support that change this year and look for them to readjust their budgets and according for the next years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Garnett, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'll support the recommendation. I went back and looked at all our records, and the initial request for road closures and other issues around Tourist Master came on May 12th, which council approved unanimously, and then June 23rd was when the staff came back with their report. So not even quite 6 weeks later, and then 6 weeks after that they had their event. So given that there was very little, if no time for them to plan for these extra costs, I think it's more than fair. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. I'm supportive of this because of the reasons mentioned by my colleagues, but I think it's important that we apply this consistently. So I would propose, I won't propose an amendment, but I'll have a motion arising that we provide the same consideration to Artsy for their Lantern Festival as well. They're also an organization that we know.
Okay, we don't need motivation on that,
Sure.
Councillor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Those unanimous? Thank you. And Councillor, you have a motion arising?
Yes. Sorry. So I would move that all town costs related to barrier vehicles.
Councillor, could you turn your mic on, please? Thanks.
Thank you, sorry. That all town costs related to barrier vehicles be waived for the 2025 Artsy's Lantern Festival.
Do we have a seconder? Councillor Novick?
I'll
turn
second
to
for
the movers.
discussion.
I'll turn to the movers.
Yeah, as I said, I think it's important that if we're gonna have policies like this, that we apply them consistently to all community groups. Just the fact that, Artsy did not come forward, that they thought that they would try and muddle through anyways. I think we should still give them fair consideration. In terms of Torque Masters, yeah, they do good things, and this was a fundraiser, but we don't normally, I didn't get the sense from Torque Masters that they suffered any significant financial hardship from this. What it allows them to do is give out another $1,400 in charitable donations to community groups, which is good, but what we're basically asking Sidney taxpayers to do is to subsidize that, which I have kind of issues with. So if we're going to have that level of consideration for Torque Masters, I think we should apply that to other community groups as well.
I'll turn to the seconder.
Thank you, Mayor. I think considering the fact that we're really just talking about 2025 activities and that for 2026 it will be known well in advance that these costs will be charged back to event organizers, and they will either have to or be able to incorporate them into whatever fees they'll be charging to the public. I agree with my colleague that it's only fair that we treat all street events the same way this year. And in terms of ability to pay, I certainly feel that Artsy, that if we're going to do this for Torque Masters, then Artsy would certainly be meritorious of the same treatment. Thanks.
Thank you. Before going to further speakers, I'll turn to Mr. Demare, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one little bit of information with the Artsy event. It was a little bit different. There was actually only one staff member that supported the event, so they were involved with managing the vehicle, which was just one, but they also supported the event as well. So it's a little bit different situation where the other events there, there was an additional staff added to manage vehicles, and that was their main purpose for supporting the event. It wasn't garbage collection, that sort of thing as well. So the Artsy event was a little bit different from that perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Demare, and I'll turn to Councillor Duck next.
Yeah, thank you to Mr. Mayor. That was exactly what I was going to say. I was attending the event on behalf of the town, and a little different scenario in that there's only one street that has to be blocked in this case because the whole event takes place on the waterfront. So the impact wasn't as great, and I respect the motion, but I'm not sure there was that much of an impact, as Mr. Demare said, because there was a combined effort for the staff that were there, and it was wasn't as impactful as the many number of streets that had to be managed for the Torquemasters event. So I'm hesitant to put it forward. I understand the presentation by my colleague, but I don't know if there's that much of a financial impact that was felt. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Renewal and then Councillor Duncan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy with the spirit of the motion. I guess my concern is that I don't know what the overall cost was to the town. I mean, I don't have any information, and if this motion were, asking staff to come back to clarify that, I'd be far more comfortable than just saying, yeah, let's go ahead and reverse those charges and have the town cover those costs, because I don't know how much they were, and I'm getting the impression that it's in a sense somewhat negligible, and I concur that we should have a level playing field. But these other two organizations came forward and put the request forward in writing, in a simple one-page format. I don't think that's too much to expect from any other organization looking for similar consideration that I suspect will be well received based on precedent. So I'm uncomfortable with making the decision without all the information. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll turn to Councillor Duncan.
Thank you. I would just like to add to what my former colleague said, that we also don't really know why the Torquemasters needed this money. We presume that they actually went through their finances and realized that this was a cost. I don't think to simply say it's comparable to Artsies or other organizations because it was merely going to take away from their donations. We actually don't have that information where they've stated that. This very well may have been an impact to their operational costs, and we can't say for sure. We do know for sure Artsy didn't ask. They didn't ask in writing, and they don't have any problem. They're not an organization which has had difficulty accessing council or coming forward with requests. And being the liaison, I didn't hear about this. And we did actually at the last meeting discuss precisely how the town staff were working at that event. And nobody said this was that it was actually the labor costs that had been a problem for them. What was a problem was that one staff member had to share those duties, and so they got complaints about the bathroom quality. So I think the only thing that we might look for from that organization in the future is they might need to actually hire actual cleaning crew dedicated to the bathrooms, but that's utterly different from labor for the trucks. They received such a large gift from the 100 women that this isn't an operational cost for them either, and it really would be us presuming that we needed to subsidize them for a cost that they did not mention either verbally or in writing that they needed. And so I'm not willing to do that ahead of time. If they do come back and say we've done these costs and we do need that money, especially since the costs were shared and so they felt some of the services were subpar, that would be fine, but I won't do that in advance.
Thank you, Councillor Duncan. Councillor Gurnett.
Thank you, Mayor. And similar to what my colleagues have said, we don't have a request here. We don't know what the costs were without that information. But I'm also, it is within our purview to grant this based on what might be perceived as a need. But I don't really want to go into that area. I prefer if people came and asked or requested of us this without making the assumption that that's something they would want. And so that's a path I would prefer that it would take. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Gurnett. Second time speakers, I have Councillor O'Keefe and Councillor Novak.
Thank you. Thank you to my colleagues for the discussion and for staff's additional information. Based on that, I would be, I don't know if I can vote against my own motion.
You can.
Or whether it's appropriate to just withdraw.
The motion is on the floor now, so council has the motion. So you're certainly free, after having considered other colleagues' deliberation, to oppose your own motion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Novak.
Thank you, Mayor. Based on what I've heard and what I'm hearing, I understand my colleagues on both sides of this issue. However, these costs are a result of a tragic accident or a tragic occurrence at the Lapu Lapu Festival in Vancouver. And it was through an abundance of caution that the town decided to put these additional safety measures in place. Because they were unforeseen and because they were not part of the normal fee schedule that event organizers would have to deal with, I don't think these costs should have been billed in the first place to these organizers, because it was a last minute sort of thing. It's one thing when event organizers have these costs in front of them when they're planning their event many months in the future, and then they can decide whether or not and or how to deal with this. But because of how this came to pass, I think it's unfair to ask these event organizers to carry these last minute costs. It sounds to me like the costs for the Artsy Lantern Festival were substantially less than those for Torquemaster, and in proportion to the size of the event, but there were costs nonetheless. And those costs nonetheless, however small they are, I feel should not have been charged in the first place, until the town had a chance to incorporate that into their fee schedule for organizers to be able to take that into consideration when they put together their admission fees or whatever fees they're charging to the public. And on that basis, I would like to see this motion go through. I believe in a level playing field. I believe in treating all organizers for events in the town the same way. I think it sends a bad message if we're prepared to give Torquemasters an advantage simply because they asked for it in writing. And what that suggests is that we're punishing Artsy because they didn't ask for it in writing. I think that's unfair. I think the motion should go through as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm not seeing any other speakers. I'll move to call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Duck, Councillor Duncan, Councillor Gurnett, myself, Councillor Renewal, Councillor O'Keefe. The motion is defeated. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item. Under 13B is the staff report on the renewal of lease of school district property at 9751 3rd Street. I'll turn to Ms. Chen this evening. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. This report brings forward the 5-year renewal of a lease agreement with School District 63 for the property located at 9751 3rd Street to continue its use as a public parking lot. The staff report outlines the relatively minor financial impacts, and I'm happy to address questions if there are any.
Thank you for the introduction. I'll turn to colleagues. Councillor Gurnett.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff. Is the town and city responsible for maintenance, all maintenance costs pertaining to this parking lot?
Correct.
So a follow-up question. I granted it's $350 a month, and it may not be a large amount to people, but it is a 17.5% increase. And in the report, it says based on cumulative inflation since 2020. So I'm not sure if they own the property, if they have to get refinancing, if they get different mortgage rate. I'm just not sure what costs, from an inflationary perspective, are they having to absorb that they would validate a 17.5% increase.
So the property is held by the school district. I'm not familiar. I don't have the details of specific costs that they may be incurring relative to the property. Looking at a lot of other lease agreements and other agreements, inflation indexed annual increase is not unusual. The last 5-year renewal had a flat rate set for the entire 5-year period, so it was $2,000 for that whole 5-year period. There were no annual adjustments, so this seems like a large increase because it's one-time catch-up for 5 years altogether.
Okay, thank you. I just think when increases that large, that's good for the public to know how those numbers are arrived at. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no other questions, I'll turn to Councillor Dutt.
Thank you for Councillor Garnett for that question. He raises a good point. So what is the increase covering? Because they don't pay taxes on that land, am I correct?
I believe that is correct.
Mr. Edwards.
Yeah, as our manager of finance said, we don't know what costs that they are incurring, but they most certainly would have an insurance cost to the property. This would more than adequately cover that. However, there could be other costs that we're unaware of. We are grateful for the lease because it is a very well utilized parking area, and it's probably one of our like really prime situated parking spots too.
Yes, and again, question through to staff. I understand we can't charge any fees on this because it is a public property owned by the school district. Is that correct?
I'm not aware of that.
Ms. Chen, please.
Yes. So to clarify through the mayor, this particular lot, we are able to charge fees for it. So this is our long-term parking lot. There is fees monthly or hourly or daily if you wish to park there. I believe you might be thinking of our previous long-term lot under lease from the province, which prohibited us from charging fees.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no questions, we do have a staff recommendation. Councillor Renewal.
I'll move the recommendation that the lease between the town and school district number 63 for the purpose of operating a public parking lot at 9751 3rd Street be renewed for an additional 5 years, January 1, 2026 to December 31st, 2030.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any motivation?
Briefly, I'll just concur with the statements put forward by staff with respect to the significance of this parking lot, its location in the town, and convenience to residents and visitors to the town center. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Yeah, I support this motion going forward because it is a very useful and popular lot. I would suggest that staff do ask, based on the questions tonight, why such a significant increase relative to their costs, and find out just for future reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, those in favor? And that carries unanimous. Thank you. Returning to our one item under correspondence, that was a piece of correspondence from 15.3 that has now become 14A, and I'll turn to Councillor O'Keefe, please.
Thank you. So I wanted to raise this letter because it's an example of others we've received in past weeks about numerous questions we've had from the public about what's next for an emergency cold weather shelter since the proposal at Wakefiled wasn't approved. This letter writer was one of those who is not in favor of the proposal at Wakefiled, but still feels we should be pursuing other options. In the feedback that we got through the public engagement process, my takeaway was that many people felt we should definitely do something, but they weren't happy with this particular location. And so since the proposal was rejected, council, I've had lots of questions from people about what are we doing next? Are we going to do anything? There's a need. But council hasn't had an opportunity to have any discussion on the topic of a shelter. We haven't provided any direction to staff on next steps. But my sense is that the community wants us to do something, and they want to know what's next. It seems that we've probably missed the opportunity to do anything for this winter for reasons that have been previously discussed about deadlines for BC housing, the amount of time that this takes, something like this takes for staff to put together. But what I'd like to do is, get some idea of, maybe signal to the community that this is something that we're still interested in pursuing, if that is council's desire. In the response to Mr. Losi.
Sorry, I'm just going to interject for a moment and
Okay.
try to be helpful, Councillor.
Okay, sure.
If you have a motion arising, you seem to be motivating towards something that you may be moving.
Okay. All right.
So if I'm just asking, if you do have a motion, I think it would be appropriate to put it on the floor and see if there's a seconder and motivate. If you just want to raise, if you want to continue about discussing this letter, that's certainly appropriate. So
Okay.
my apologies for interjecting,
Okay,
but just
okay, I'll make a motion. I guess I was just, I don't know if the motion would make sense without the other information, but
well, you
I'll
get to
put
you
it-
get to motivate
I'll
when
put
it's
it
on the
out,
floor.
I'll put it out there, okay? So my motion would be that staff continue to participate in regional discussions related to shelters and continue to consider local opportunities that may arise and report back to council in January.
Second.
I'll turn you to motivate now.
Okay, so I won't repeat all that other stuff, but basically, what I was gonna say is, we know in looking at the response to Mr. Losi from the chief, is that there are discussions being taken at a regional level on the topic of shelters. So what I'd like to do in passing this motion is at least signal to the community and to staff that a cold weather shelter is something that we're still interested in pursuing. It's not, the motion is not specific about, we want you to go look at this specific property, as we did with Wakefiled. And the reason for that is, I don't know what's gonna come out of these regional conversations. I also don't know what is in the mind of Beacon Community Services these days. So what I'm wanting to accomplish with this is, as I say, to let the community know that we haven't, that this is not a dead issue. It's something that we're still important pursuing, and also to signal to staff that same intention, that we're interested in hearing more about the regional discussions. We want to hear back on that. And if something were to come up, if Beacon Community Services or somebody else came forward and said, we've got something here that we think might work for a shelter, I want staff to be able to say, I want staff to know that council is still supportive of looking into something, and that their response wouldn't be, council has decided we're not moving forward with this. So that's the intention behind it.
I'll turn to the seconder.
Yeah, I concur. I think by the tone of the letters we're receiving from the public, they don't feel like there's any direction given on this. And I think we're not looking for a solution this year, but I think we need to indicate that we are still pursuing a made in Sidney solution for our unhoused and their cold weather protection. I think it's essential that we demonstrate that we're still pursuing this. And I don't think that we've given any indication of that. Certainly by the tone of the letters, people feel that we've dropped the ball on this. And certainly there's an interest in doing that. There's an interest from the community in forming whether it's called a support group or an organizing group to maybe push this forward. Maybe that's something we can help elevate. But certainly to demonstrate the town has not lost sight of this item and that it's still present in our minds, and we're looking at both regional and local solutions that might be possible down the road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Before going to others, I'm going to ask Ms. Nelson if you could please read the motion to council, please.
I've got that staff continue to participate in regional discussions related to shelters and continue to consider local opportunities that may arise and report back to council in January.
Thank you. Councillor Duncan, please.
Yeah, thank you. I actually just wanted to ask through the staff, is this motion not just, I feel like this is something staff would simply already be doing as part of their duties with the CRD anyway. Is this something we actually need to give them direction to do? Is it actually going to be increasing the number of meetings that they go to outside their regular duties, or would, and if so, I feel like that might be an unexpected budget item, but Is there something that staff are aware of that we are not already involved in?
Mr. Edwards, please.
Through the mayor to Councillor Duncan, there's no there's no other activities that are really occurring that council is not aware of, and so, and you are correct that, you know, staff continue to participate in any activities that are relevant to this file, and so, you know, however, to be clear, staff are not currently pursuing other opportunities without express direction from council. Staff we do continue to discuss it at a low level to kind of quietly and amongst ourselves consider, like, you know, what next could possibly occur. But the CRD has come forward in a leadership role to bring the region together and to try to discuss what opportunities or path forward might look like for the entire region, and it's too soon to say what that looks like, and so staff will most definitely continue to participate in those meetings and any other opportunities that might arise. Hope that provides some clarity.
It does provide clarity, and so I'll be voting against this motion because I don't think this isn't a ball that was dropped because staff wasn't paying attention or wasn't trying, or that we hadn't heard given them a direction. I also don't like the artificiality of the timeline because we don't know that anything new would be coming forward by January from what's already going on. This was really an issue with actually the public doesn't want it. They absolutely do not want it. We have been told, I mean, we spent many hours listening to people talk about the many decades of experience that our townspeople have with nonprofits that deal with exactly this issue, and that they are all very well-traveled people, you know, literate people, highly educated people, intelligent people, as these letters will tell you, far more intelligent in aggregate than any of us. And they also have a lot of spare time now. They use their very large disposable income. Sidney is a very wealthy place for a lot of travel and recreation. The moment that those people who care so much put together a nonprofit that they know how to do and they know how to fund and they know how to run on all their board experience and come forward with an actual plan, with an actual parcel of land, I will be happy to do what a council does and work with staff to approve that. But until I actually see that, I don't believe that that's what they want. Though I do very much believe that they want us to save some face for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Novick, please.
Thank you. Maybe I misheard the rereading of that motion, but it sounds to me like it is giving staff direction to pursue this actively. And if I understand what Mr. Edwards said, that while they're continuing discussions, they are not at this present time actively pursuing additional possibilities for a shelter. Is that accurate?
It depends what you mean by active, and council's resolution at the last meeting was pretty clear and to not support the recommendation from staff, and as such there has been no direction from council to continue to pursue any other alternatives. And so staff have been quietly continuing to have discussions and considerations, but I wouldn't say that we have been reaching out to any other possible locations or partners other than those that we had already been engaged with.
Well, maybe my question was improperly asked, but let me rephrase it. If this motion is passed, how do you see that the staff's work on this file will change? Again, through the mayor.
I don't see that it will change much, but I do see that we would have a clear time period within which we would aim to report back to council. So staff are, as I've said, continuing to work on this quietly and not devote a the same level of resources to it as before. Staff have not done an accounting of the time commitment and time allocation that was contributed to this project, but it was very significant. And we have to turn our attention to other priorities as well. And so if this motion wasn't on the table, we would continue to participate in any regional discussions that were occurring, and we would bring that back to council in a timely fashion when appropriate. We don't know when that would be. However, with this motion on the table, and if it passes, it simply provides clarity as to when we would bring back a report to council. We don't know how far along that regional discussion will have gone. It may have proven that it's been very fruitful and that we've made some good gains along that way, or it may prove that it's more complex and is going to require further time, and that would be part of the report back.
Thank you. So that having been said, I would still support this motion because it does create a timeline for this, which we wouldn't have otherwise. And I fear that this file will simply fall off the table and maybe not be heard from again for quite some time, at least by stating, or by the motion stating, that we would want to report back in January. It suggests that staff will make some effort to come back to us with some concrete alternatives, or at least a sense of where we are
I'm going
in this
to
over
interrupt
time.
for just a moment. Councillor Renewal, Mr. Edwards.
And thank you, Mayor, through you to Councillor Novak. I just want to be clear that the motion is not proposing alternatives, and we are not actively engaging in alternatives at this point in time. While there may be some ideas and some thoughts percolating or discussions occurring about that, at this time staff are not actively pursuing alternatives, and I don't think the motion on the table is requesting alternatives being brought forward.
Sorry, I'm Councillor Novak. I am going to return the floor to you in just a moment, but I am going to ask Ms. Nelson to read the motion one time. And there's two parts to it. If you could read the first part and then the second.
Okay. That council continue to participate in regional discussions related to shelters,
Okay.
and continue to consider local opportunities that may arise and report back to council in January.
Does that help, Councillor Novak?
It does, and well, now I have some concerns that it may be a little too vague, because it's not really clear what we can expect in January from staff. Because as Mr. Edwards stated, staff are already doing much of this, and we're not really raising the bar on the level of work. So I may have to flip on this, because I don't see it changing the status quo significantly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I have Councillor Renewal next.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess my concern with the well-intended motion is the timeline. I know one of my other colleagues referred to the timeline as well as being a concern. I'm sure that staff will be busy during this period, looking to budget season and all the challenges that winter, brings to ongoing projects here that the town is involved in. And so in terms of bringing back anything meaningful in January, I'm skeptical that I'll support the motion for that reason. I guess what I'd rather see, and I'm not opposing the motion, I guess I would have rather have seen, and it could well come back at a future date, the suggestion that we ask staff to set aside for budget deliberation funds for the purpose of adding staff resources to this file, be it through a consultant, be it through some sort of capacity to enable staff, because we've heard from the CAO that this was a very time-consuming endeavor. We know that it's time sensitive in relation to BC Housing and the application deadlines, which will again loom quickly as we try to put this together for our community. So I think it would have been, and still may well be more fruitful if we instruct staff to bring forward something during budget season to help accommodate this. But the motion that's before us, another report from staff as early as January, I don't anticipate to be time well spent for our town staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any first-time speakers? Councillor O'Keefe. Or no, sorry, you moved and Councillor Duck seconded. So you're second-time speakers. I'm turning to, are there any other first-time speakers? I'll speak for a first time, and I won't be supportive of the motion. Staff have indicated, while there is discussion at a regional level, if something is to materialize, staff will come forward with that to council. I don't think we have to have a motion, and the first part of the motion is for the town to continue to participate in the regional initiative. Well, town are participating in the regional conversation. So I don't think we need to give that direction. In terms of considering local opportunities, staff have indicated that if Beacon Community Services or another organization was to come forward or an opportunity to come forward, then staff would consider it and it could be brought forward to council. So this doesn't give direction to staff, and it does impose a timeline that I think is unreasonable, because we don't know what the timeline is on the regional work that is occurring. And there is no timeline necessarily for opportunities to come forward externally. I will turn now to second-time speakers. First, Councillor Duck, then Councillor O'Keefe.
Yeah, I just want to remind my colleagues that one of the concerns raised by the public was the thought of secrecy. There was no communication. The tenor of this resolution is to continue that communication. It's not putting any extra work on staff. It's about the staff reporting out just to let them know where the standing is, so that the public can feel like this file is still being pursued as normal actions of the staff. And it's just that communication piece that we need to put out there to let them know that we're still looking at this as much time as we can assign to it. And one of the concerns, as you may recall, was the public felt that they were in the dark, and all of a sudden Wakefiled was launched on them. Well, this is to circumvent that opportunity, that we are informing them, we are communicating, we are keeping them up to date on this very important issue about what's happening in our town for emergency cold weather shelters. In the reports back from both staff in response to the letters, there's no indication of that within the letters. There's no indication of the continuing work on this. And that's the piece that's missing. We need to demonstrate to residents that we're still pursuing this, that it's still a very important aspect of what we're doing.
Councillor, I am going to interject, and I'll call it a point of order. You're saying that we are still pursuing this. Staff have indicated, Mr. Edwards is indicating that staff are not pursuing this.
No.
The term is being used, pursuing this.
I'm going to disagree with you, Mayor. What staff indicated was they're still looking into regional operations. They're still looking at things that come up.
They're participating in a regional conversation.
Right.
That is not pursuing. And we're not pursuing something locally.
Then I'll ask through to staff. Can you clarify, please, Mr. Liam? Mr. No.
Through the mayor, to all of council, for clarification, right now, I would say, to use a colloquial term, tools are relatively down on this file compared to what they were earlier in the year. Earlier in the year, we had a minimum of 4 staff, upwards of 6 staff working on this file at any given time, and it consumed a large amount of time. We cannot afford that amount of time to continue unless council directs it as a priority over and above other current projects and priorities. So right now, we do continue to discuss it, but at a much lower level, much fewer staff engaged, and we do turn our minds to it because it's an important issue. We do participate in calls at the regional level, and the CRD has taken a leadership position to bring all of the municipalities together to discuss these opportunities, and we will continue to participate in that. But I want to be very clear, we are not actively reaching out to other organizations or other sites and contemplating bringing alternatives forward anytime soon. Unless, as some of the councillors have indicated, if there's a willing entity that comes forward with an idea and a proposal, we will more than happily entertain that and explore that and bring that to council if that is presented.
So again, the tenor of the motion is that staff keep residents and council informed of what the activities are on this. That's all we're asking here. It's not about doing anything. It's about letting people know that this is still a very important issue within the town, and that the staff will continue to inform us. And yes, they are doing that work and participating, but it's about letting the public know. We were accused of acting in secrecy on the last time, and I want to avoid that this time. I want to let them know that this is still a very active file, and that whatever staff can do, and when they have time to do it, they will let us know. And there's no obligation in January to say, here, we've reached this solution. It's about providing an update on where things are at. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Keefe?
Thank you. A couple of things I'd like to cover. First, in terms of the January deadline, and appreciate the questions, that it may seem arbitrary, but there's actually some method to my madness, or as you may think. I did touch base with staff prior to this to get an idea of how are regional discussions going, what's going on, some of the other maybe things that might be out there. And would we have some sense of what might be going on the regional level by January? That would be a reasonable time. And my sense from staff was they thought, yeah, by January we should have some idea of what was being planned at the regional level. So the next thing in my mind was that would be a good time for staff to at least report out on that. And if there was other things that were kind of drifting out there that sort of came to fruition, staff have said they continue to kind of casually, not with a lot of effort, but if things came forward, they would bring that to us. So January would be a reasonable time for them to come back to us and report on these things. The other good thing about January is it's around budget time. So if we got a report from staff at that time that said, here's what the regional approach might be or not be, then council would be in a better position to direct staff, as one of my colleagues has said, in terms of bringing forward a budget item for us for our consideration if we want to have shelters for the next year. So the January timeline did have a certain amount of thought to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other second-time speakers? Seeing none, I'll just lastly state the two parts of the motion staff have indicated they will already do, and I don't see a motion as being necessary. So I'll now turn to call the question. Those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Duncan, Councillor Gurnett, myself, Councillor Renewal, and Councillor Novak. The motion fails. We have 12 other pieces of correspondence for information. We're receiving them by virtue of them being on our agenda. We don't need a motion to receive those. We don't have any notices of motion. I'll turn to Councillor Gannett, who kindly reads our motion to go on camera.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move that it is in the opinion of council that the public interest requires that persons other than members of the council and officers be excluded from the meeting to consider confidential matters regarding personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for an appointment pursuant to section 90.1 of the community charter, and that council continue the meeting in closed session. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Motion carries. We will adjourn now and recess now and come back at 7:30 in 10 minutes. Thank you. In camera.